My siblings never invited me to their weddings because I wasn't important enough. So when it was my turn to get married, I left them off the guest list. Now my whole family's exploded over it. I'm the youngest of three. Mark is 38, Julia is 36, and I'm 33. Our parents like to say we were raised the same, but it never felt that way. They were the golden two, and I was the one who got told, "You'll understand when you're older." Turns out, I did get older. I just didn't start understanding. Mark got married when I was 24, still in college, working nights at a cafe to pay rent. I remember the call like it happened yesterday. He said, "We're keeping the wedding small. Don't take it personally." I told him I understood, and I meant it at the time. I even mailed him a gift, a set of engraved glasses I saved 2 paychecks for. Then, the pictures went online. There were over 100 guests, people from his office, friends from high school, even some cousins we hadn't seen in a decade. Not me, not my name on the seating chart. When Julia got engaged 2 years later, I didn't even wait to be disappointed. I asked her directly if I'd be invited. She laughed and said, "You don't have to come. It'll be all my friends and Greg's family anyway." I remember hanging up the phone, sitting in my apartment, staring at the blank TV screen, realizing it wasn't about space or money. It was about value. I wasn't worth a plate of food to them. When their weddings came and went, my parents told me to let it go. They said, "Weddings are expensive, and you'll understand when it's your turn." That became their script for everything they didn't want to deal with. I tried. I really did. I went to graduation parties, birthdays, holidays, smiled through it all, but something inside me shifted after that. I stopped being the sister who waited for a seat at their table. The years passed. My relationship with Daniel started when I was 27. He was steady, patient, and came from a family where people actually listened to each other. When he proposed last year, I didn't cry because of the ring. I cried because someone was choosing me on purpose. We decided early we'd pay for the wedding ourselves. 90 guests, small but not bare. Friends we love, family who show up, people who matter. The list came together easily. Then came the question of Mark and Julia. Daniel asked if I wanted to include them for the sake of peace. I laughed, not bitterly, just flat. Peace with people who never wanted me at their table? I'm good. We left their names off. It wasn't revenge, it was consistency. I didn't make a speech about it. I didn't post some dramatic status. I just moved forward with our plans, until my mother asked to help with invitations. She came over one Sunday, sat at the dining table, and started leafing through the printed list. "Where are Mark and Julia?" she said. I told her, "Not invited." She froze. "You're joking." "No," I said. "I'm following their example." It took her 2 seconds to go from confused to furious. She started talking about family, about forgiveness, about how petty this makes you look. I reminded her that both my siblings had weddings full of strangers and didn't want me there. I said, "Why do they get grace and I get guilt?" She didn't answer. She just shook her head, said I was tearing the family apart, and left. An hour later, my phone lit up like a bonfire. Family group chat blowing up. Mark called me vindictive. Julia sent a 3-minute voice note about unity. I didn't respond to any of them. Then my dad weighed in. "Your mother's upset. Fix this before you regret it." I asked him if he ever told Mark or Julia to fix it when they excluded me. He didn't reply. That silence said everything. The next few days were chaos. Relatives started calling. Half of them said I was right, half said I was being cruel. The usual lines came out. Be the bigger person. 2 wrongs don't make a right. Family is forever. But no one cared when it was me being cut out. Apparently, when you're the quiet one, your pain is optional. Daniel told me to block the noise. He said, "This wedding is about us, not your family politics." He's right, but I could feel the guilt tightening around my neck anyway. I've spent my whole life being the peacemaker. This was the first time I said no. A few nights later, Mark called me, not to talk, to lecture. He said, "You're embarrassing yourself." I told him, "Funny, I don't remember being on your guest list when you embarrassed me." He hung up. Then Julia sent a long text about how family means forgiveness. I replied, "Family also means inclusion. You missed your chance at both." My mother started working the emotional angle next. "Your father and I might not come if this continues." I asked if she was serious. She said, "We won't choose sides." I said, "You already did, twice." That was it. That was the moment I stopped begging for balance. Now we're a few weeks away from the wedding, and my parents still haven't confirmed if they're attending. My siblings haven't spoken to me directly since the argument. My aunt texted to say the family's disappointed, like I've committed some grand betrayal. Daniel keeps telling me, "You're allowed to protect your peace." And for the first time, I believe him. Still, part of me aches. I wanted my parents there. I wanted a picture of us, proof that they were proud. But every time I think about giving in, I picture 20-something me staring at wedding photos of people who didn't think I was worth a seat. I refuse to relive that. Here's what I've learned. When you're always the one swallowing your feelings for the sake of peace, peace starts to taste like poison. I don't owe them an invitation to a life they never invited me into. If they decide to skip my wedding, that's on them. I'm done chasing people who made it clear where I rank. They set the precedent. I'm just following the rules they wrote. Now the question is, can I go through with this and still enjoy my day? Or will the guilt they've trained me to feel swallow it whole? I don't want to stand at the altar thinking about empty chairs. I want to look at Daniel and see the life I built, not the family that never showed up. That's why I'm posting here, because I need to hear from someone outside this endless loop of family, family, family. Would you forgive siblings who left you out twice and then expected front row seats to your happiness? Or would you finally close that door and keep walking? Because right now, I'm standing in the middle, holding the handle, and I'm not sure which way to turn. Update 1. It's been 3 weeks since my original post, and my wedding is officially behind me, the short version. My parents didn't come, my siblings didn't come, and somehow it was still the happiest day of my life. But getting there felt like dragging myself through fire. After I posted, things got worse, louder, messier, more exhausting. My parents kept their threat. "We won't attend if you don't invite your brother and sister," my mother said on the phone. Her tone clipped and rehearsed like she'd been practicing it for days. My dad echoed it with a sigh that meant, "We're doing this for your own good." I told them calmly that I loved them, but I wasn't changing the guest list. My mother started crying immediately, the kind of crying that sounds like a performance. She said, "When you're older and we're gone, you'll wish you'd done the right thing." I told her, "When you were younger and I was excluded, you should have taught my siblings what the right thing was." That ended the call. Then came the social media circus. Mark started posting vague statuses. "Some people hold grudges for a decade. Family doesn't matter to everyone, I ignored it." Then Julia posted pictures of her family at brunch with the caption, "Grateful for the ones who value family over pride." I didn't comment, didn't message, didn't take the bait. But cousins started reaching out with just checking in texts that were really probes for gossip. Half the extended family is split down the middle. My Aunt Lynn called to say she understood my point and thought my siblings were cruel. My Uncle Tom said I was immature and that you can't fight fire with fire. I told him, "You're right. I'm not fighting. I'm done being burned." The guilt campaign was relentless. Mark's wife, Claire, sent me an email titled, "Please read before you make a mistake." It was 3 paragraphs of guilt-wrapped manipulation. How much it would mean to her kids to see their Aunt OP at a family wedding, how sad it was that they were caught in adult drama, and how I should think of them before making irreversible decisions. I stared at the email for an hour before replying. All I wrote was, "I wasn't their aunt at your wedding. Don't use your kids now." I hit send and blocked her. Daniel, bless him, kept telling me, "We can still have a beautiful day without them." He stayed calm even when I wasn't. I had moments of doubt, real ones. At night, I'd lie awake wondering if I was ruining my own happiness out of stubbornness, but every time I pictured giving in, I saw the younger version of me crying in her dorm room while scrolling through photos of my siblings' weddings. I couldn't betray that girl again. Julia tried calling the next week. I let it ring out. Then she left a voice message saying she forgave me, like she was the victim. I deleted it without listening to the rest. 2 days before the wedding, I came home from errands and found my mother's car parked in front of our house. She was sitting on the porch with her arms crossed. I didn't even get out of my car. I parked down the street and called Daniel. He came out and talked to her instead. He told her I wasn't opening the door and that we'd said everything that needed to be said. She left 10 minutes later. That night, she sent me a text. "If you go through with this, you'll regret it forever." I replied, "I already regret giving you so many chances to understand." The morning of the wedding, I expected to wake up sick from stress. Instead, I felt light. The air was quiet. There were no frantic phone calls, no family group chat, no drama waiting at my door. It was just me, my maid of honor, a cup of coffee, and the sound of rain outside the window. The storm stopped 2 hours before the ceremony, and the sun came out. I took it as a sign. Walking down the aisle, I didn't look for my parents. I didn't check the seats for familiar faces that weren't there. I looked at Daniel. He smiled like none of the noise mattered, and in that moment, it didn't. Our wedding was small but alive. 90 people who actually wanted to be there. His parents were kind. His siblings danced with me. His nieces called me auntie, like it was the most natural thing in the world. My best friend gave a speech about chosen family, and the room erupted in applause. I didn't cry during the vows, but I cried later when we were alone, because I realized for the first time what peace feels like. Afterward, I posted a few photos online, nothing flashy, just one of Daniel and me laughing under the string lights, another of our first dance. Comments flooded in from friends, co-workers, and cousins who supported me. For the first time in a long time, people weren't pitying me, they were celebrating me. Then, as if the universe couldn't let me have one quiet night, I got a message from my cousin Lauren. "Did you see what your siblings are doing?" She sent a photo. Mark and Julia had apparently hosted a family dinner the same night as my wedding. In the picture, they were at a long table with our parents and a few relatives, raising glasses of wine. Julia had captioned it, "Family loyalty always wins." I didn't cry, I didn't rage, I just stared at it until my phone went dim. Then I laughed, because it was pathetic. They threw their own family event to celebrate excluding me yet again. They proved my point without even realizing it. Daniel saw me staring at my phone and asked what was wrong. I showed him the picture. He read it, shrugged, and said, "Then we made the right choice." He's right. Later that night, after everyone left and we were alone, I sat on the hotel balcony with a glass of champagne and thought about everything that led here. I realized I never lost my family this year. They'd already let me go a long time ago. I just stopped chasing after them. Mark and Julia made it clear years ago that I wasn't important enough to stand beside them, so this time, I let them live by their own rule. They call it revenge. I call it consistency. I don't feel guilt anymore. Just clarity. I didn't ruin the family. I exposed the truth about it. And if my parents can't stand to look at that truth, that's not my problem to solve. For the first time in my life, I didn't bend to keep the peace. I didn't shrink myself to fit their version of family. I chose my own happiness, and the world didn't end. The wedding was everything I wanted it to be. Not perfect, but real. A start built on honesty instead of obligation. And to anyone who still thinks I should have taken the high road, I did. I just finally realized that road doesn't always lead back home. Final update. It's been just over 6 months since my wedding, and I feel like a different person living in the same body. After the photos went up, everything went quiet for a while. The kind of silence that feels like standing in a room after a storm. Branches everywhere. Broken things you didn't realize you owned. My parents didn't reach out. My siblings pretended I didn't exist. The only communication I got were guilt-soaked emails from my mom about how family is all that matters, and how one day you'll wish you'd handled things differently. I didn't reply. For once in my life, I didn't explain myself or try to soothe her. Every response I've ever given that woman has been a variation of "please understand me." But this time, I deleted her messages and sat in the peace that came after. Daniel and I moved 2 hours away a month after the wedding, a small town near the coast, quiet streets, a backyard that smells like salt water, neighbors who say hello when they pass by. We wanted a clean start, somewhere that didn't carry the echo of my family's drama. My therapist told me it wasn't running away, it was choosing where to put my energy. I believe that now. I changed my number too. I only gave it to a handful of people. 2 cousins who stood by me, a few friends, and my parents through Daniel because he insisted it was safer to leave a line open in case of emergency. The first few weeks were surreal. I didn't realize how much my body was used to the constant stress of waiting for a phone call, a guilt trip, a fight. Without it, I slept through the night for the first time in years. Daniel said I laughed differently, less cautious, less like I was checking who was watching first. Then, 3 months ago, the quiet broke. Julia reached out. She texted Daniel's phone one night, asking him to tell me that mom had a health scare and that it would be nice to let bygones be bygones. That phrasing already told me everything. She didn't want reconciliation. She wanted a reunion on her terms, a way to rewrite the narrative where I was still the problem. But I'm not heartless. I went. The hospital was only an hour away, and I drove there alone. I didn't tell anyone I was coming. When I walked into the room, Julia was sitting beside Mom's bed, scrolling on her phone. Mom looked frailer than I expected, paler too, but her eyes were still sharp enough to assess me the second I walked in. Julia said, "Look who's here," like she was announcing a surprise guest at a party. Mom didn't respond. She didn't look at me directly, just at the flowers I'd brought, like they'd offended her. I said, "Hi, Mom." She said, "Julia told me you were coming." "No, thank you." "No, it's good to see you." The next 20 minutes were painful. Every attempt I made to ask how she was went through Julia like a translator. Mom would whisper something to Julia, and Julia would say it aloud, as if I couldn't hear. Mom says she wishes you'd just let things go. Mom says it's time to move forward as a family. It felt less like a visit and more like a performance. One last chance for them to corner me into an apology. I stood up, set the flowers on the nightstand, and said, "I'm glad you're okay. Take care of yourself." Julia said, "That's it? You're leaving already?" I said, "If this was about Mom's health, you'd let me talk to her. This was about control. I'm not playing anymore." Then I walked out. Mom didn't stop me. She didn't even look up. That night, I got a call from my dad. His tone was calm, almost rehearsed, like he'd been waiting for this moment. He said, "I know your siblings could have handled things better back then. Maybe they should have included you, but it's time to move on. Family's all we've got." I said, "Dad, I have moved on. Just not in the way you want." He sighed and said, "You're making this harder than it needs to be." I said, "That's what you told me when I cried over not being invited to Mark's wedding." Some things never change. We haven't spoken since. I don't regret going to the hospital. It confirmed everything I needed to know. My family doesn't want peace. They want control dressed up as forgiveness. They want me back in my old role. The youngest who keeps quiet, smooths things over, and takes the blame so everyone else can feel righteous. I've retired from that job. Daniel and I spent the holidays with his family this year. His mother made too much food, his dad told terrible jokes, and his siblings fought over board games. It was loud and messy and real. When we toasted to family, I didn't flinch. I realized that word doesn't have to mean pain. A few weeks ago, something unexpected happened. Julia's daughter, Mia, she's 14 now, sent me a message on Instagram. She wrote, "Hi Aunt OP, I know Mom wouldn't want me to message you, but I saw your wedding photos. You looked beautiful. I wish I could have been there. I'm sorry about how everyone treated you." I sat there staring at the screen, unsure what to do. For a second, I saw the cycle trying to start over again. Another girl trying to keep peace between adults who don't deserve it. So I messaged back carefully. "Thank you, sweetheart. That means a lot. You don't have to take sides. Just be kind and honest. That's enough." She replied with a heart emoji. I haven't heard from her since, and that's okay. She knows I'm not the villain her mother painted me as. That's enough for me. I've learned a lot in the last 6 months. The biggest lesson? Family doesn't dissolve overnight. It erodes slowly. A missed invitation here, a dismissed feeling there. By the time the final break happens, the bridge has already crumbled. You just finally stop pretending to cross it. Mark still hasn't spoken to me. From what I hear, he's convinced I'm the one who split the family. Julia tells everyone I'm still bitter. Mom and Dad send the occasional generic email. Bible verses about forgiveness, photos from family gatherings where I'm a ghost in the background of their memories. I don't respond. Instead, I pour my energy into the people who show up for me. The friends who danced at my wedding, the cousins who still text. The life Daniel and I are building from scratch, brick by brick, without apology. Sometimes I drive by the ocean after work and think about how much time I wasted begging for a seat at tables that never had a chair for me. I thought if I was patient, they'd see me. But visibility doesn't come from shrinking yourself. It comes from standing tall, even if it means standing alone. I didn't lose my family because of my wedding. I lost them years ago when they decided I wasn't important enough to celebrate. The only difference now is I stopped chasing their approval and started living my own life. People keep telling me blood is thicker than water, but they forget the real phrase. The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. It means the relationships we choose can matter more than the ones we're born into. And they do. Julia and Mark didn't think I was important enough to stand beside them. I stopped begging to be seen, and for the first time in my life, I'm free.